Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Knights of the Dawn podcast, where we talk about everything Brandon Mull. My name is Megan.
And I'm Jessica.
And today we're going to continue with our commentary on the first book in the Beyonder series, A World Without Heroes. And today we'll be covering chapters 9 through 12.
Mm-hmm. And this will be a very interesting section. It's 4 chapters, and within these 4 chapters, we are introduced to 3 very different characters.
Yeah.
Each are unique, have their own quirks and backstories, most of which we aren't even going to get in these 3 chapters.
True.
But they become very important characters, and we're very excited to be introduced to these 3 fellows.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because it's just the next 3 chapters are just their names, and then the last one's jailbreak. So 3 people in a jailbreak for this episode. Kind of fun.
So, might as well get into it.
Yeah. Chapter 9 is Tark. So, a little recap from last time. We barely escaped being chopped in half by a giant Titan crab and got the...
Macroid.
Very fun. Macroid. Very and fun. We got the 3rd syllable of the word, I believe.
I believe it was 4th out of 6. They have the 1st and the 4th.
The 4th. The 1st and the 4th. A third of the word. So...
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're well on their way to making progress to getting the full word. However, they now are very well aware of the fact that they have targets on their backs.
Yes.
Puggles was sent after them and was, single-mindedly focused on their destruction. And so now they are 2 13-year-olds?
13.
Trying to make their way through an unfamiliar country without giving away the fact that, hey, we're wanted people, come kill us, please.
Yeah. So
that's not as easy as it sounds. And it already doesn't sound easy.
Nope. They are also kind of running out of food. So when they come upon a little fishing town, they decide to try their luck and hopefully get some food and shelter for the night. So they wander to this little village and they notice a somewhat strange structure in the town. It's, let's see. Okay, here's the description. One structure in the town stood out from the rest, a wide, round building with a shallowly sloped conical roof. It drew attention because it ponderously rotated like an overgrown carousel. The bizarre rotunda sat high on a slope, the furthest structure from the water. So, this round building slowly spinning, and they decide to go over there.
Well, I mean... It's a eye catcher.
Yeah.
You're going to want to go check it out.
Yeah. They learn it's called...
Closer.
Yeah. Go ahead.
They get closer and they find out it's called the Tavern Go Round.
Yes.
Very, very interesting name. And it's very interesting because most of, the architecture that we've seen up until this point has been very consistently medieval, I guess I'll say.
Yeah.
Like, cottages, ruined castles... The things you'd expect if you were, going around, I don't know, 1500 England, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have a tavern that is rotating. So it's a very peculiar thing.
It's very unique.
And so in order to get inside of this tavern, which Jason and Rachel presume that is probably the best place to buy food, they approach a man, leans out as they pass, saying, "You want in?" And so they have to get on top of a platform. As the door spins back around, the man grabs Jason's arms and pulls him in as they spin by. And then they have to do the same thing for Rachel as it comes around.
Yeah.
Interesting job, I must say.
It is interesting.
It must be looking brutal, though.
Do they describe how they get out? Because how do you get out of there? You just have to time a jump?
Centrifugal force, yeah.
I feel like getting out would be kind of scary.
Yeah,
it's going
really
fast.
You'd really want that platform, the dismount platform, to be very wide to account for the momentum.
True. It's funny. So yeah, they make it into the tavern go round, and they go up to the bar and start talking to the barkeeper. And his name is Kearney. And first they're like, they ask questions because, interesting place.
The building is spinning.
Yeah. He's like, so why is this place spinning? And Kearney explains that there's an underground river that turns a wheel that makes it go around. So it's just like a water wheel, but not vertical, but almost sideways, spinning it around. That's kind of how I picture it. So.
Yeah. I imagine it's almost like, because have you ever gone down rabbit holes on YouTube and just found like videos that you would never have found otherwise, but now you know things?
Yes.
I did that once for like a grain mill.
Oh,
Like
really?
I stumbled upon,
That's
like
funny.
because like they have water wheels which are vertical. Like they're very typical. You think of them standard when they come think like 200, 300 years ago.
Yeah.
But I always wondered, how does that actually work with like a grain mill? Like
How does it grind up the grain
Yeah, how does the
Okay.
momentum work?
to make a meal?
And what it ends up being is like inside of the mill itself, there's like like I'm trying to remember exactly how it looked, but there were more wheels basically. They're like cogs in a machine.
Oh,
So like the
that
big
makes
wheel
sense.
that's sticking on the river, yes, is horizontal, and that's turning, I think, like a spoke or an axle usually. However, there's a second wheel that's also vertical that then turns a horizontal wheel by like interlocking its cogs.
Yeah.
And then that, I believe, turns something else that makes the grains, the millstones rock around, I believe, is what it does.
Interesting.
It was a very interesting video.
Yeah.
I'll have to find it again and send it to you because it was very interesting to just see, oh, that's how that works. But it is very much like cogs in a machine. When one rotates, the rest rotates. So I wonder if there's a vertical. There's probably a vertical wheel, but then a horizontal wheel right on top of it.
It's true.
Creating the horizontal rotation instead of a vertical rotation. Boom! There's your physics lesson for today, kids.
There you go. You learned something.
Hopefully. If nothing else, you were probably inspired to go onto YouTube and learn something.
Go find a rabbit hole
Much
to
better.
jump down on YouTube.
That
not
sounds like
literally.
almost like a cursed like dismissal. Like, go jump down a rabbit hole.
I mean, if you want to be like Alice in Wonderland, you could fall down
I
a
was
rabbit
thinking
hole.
about that.
So yeah,
Just a little interesting thing.
the barkeeper says, the tavern go round is what put us all back on the map, or put us on the map. And then he says back when maps were legal, which is, call back to the fact that maps aren't legal. So consistency. And so
I feel like that is one thing that I noticed throughout like this entire section is how like the common person does not like Maldor. Like the common
Yeah.
person is very much like, yeah, back when maps were legal, or like,
it's true.
I guess like the good people are on the wrong side of the law. So like the average Joe doesn't love the current
Yeah,
climate.
people
of
don't typically like to be
politics.
impressed. So
Yeah. Gee, wonder why.
surprise.
But yeah, so I just thought that was interesting. Like for all Maldor's like attempts to keep everything separated and in general, like the general populace content, there is still like a lot of just general discontent
Yeah.
about him. Like not many people can do anything about it because of what he's done, but at the very least, like so in that way he's successful, but just in many ways you can tell he's not beloved.
Yeah.
So
So
he
basically,
needs to work
they're
on his
like,
propaganda game.
Jason and Rachel are like, so what can we have to eat around here? Because, they're hungry. And the guy starts doing a little sales pitch because he's like, oh, you can get seafood. And he decides to sell them the most expensive thing on the menu, which, it's what you
try
do if you
every
run a
time.
restaurant. You try to upsell your customers to make more money. And he offers them a dish called Puckerlies, which is like, I don't really know what they are. Kind of like clams?
Yeah. They
That's kind of what
are
I've always
served.
thought.
Yeah, they're served alive. Maybe it's more like what's that little?
I don't
Is
know
it
my seafood.
mussels?
Mussels, clams, I don't know. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
really like seafood, so I don't really know my seafood.
There's me neither. Well, at least I haven't had it. But there's like one specific like seafood I know that like has to be like kept alive until like the very last second. Like, I don't know. It might have been mussels. I don't know. But basically, it describes the Puckerlies. It is a black thimble-shaped shell, roughly the size of a plum, And so inside there's squirming multicolored tissue. So it is still alive
Ew,
even as you eat
yeah.
it. Yeah. And I find this funny because while Jason and Rachel are getting a sample, Jason goes, "Ladies first." And she goes, "You're such a gentleman when it's convenient. I vote you be the guinea pig." And so they put a little, it's called pulpa oil to loosen it up.
Uh,
And then otherwise you have to suck it out and then you just
yeah.
tip it back and chew it and
I think it's
yeah.
funny when Jason's about to eat it. His a thought crosses his mind and it says he remembered his biology teacher expounding on the perils of consuming raw fish, and so he's just like, as he's like about to eat it, he's just like, "Is this a good idea?" He's like, YOLO, whatever, I'll just eat it. So and he likes it. He ends up thinking it's really good. So
Yeah.
they get the expensive dinner and start eating. And then while they're there, a man who is disheveled and I don't know how to describe him. Depressed, really, the best way to describe it.
Disheveled and depressed probably fits to him as
Like
about as well as anything could.
stumbles up to the bar and asks for a bowl of chowder, and Kearney says, "I'm not going to give you any more food until you do some work." And then the guy says, "I'm too good for honest labor," and just kind of,
No. He says, "I'm not good enough."
"I'm not good." Oh yeah, you're right.
I was gonna say that's very important.
That's what I meant. Yeah,
Yeah, he says, "I'm not good enough to wash dishes."
yeah,
And so Kearney says that he's been sitting near the outer wall while they're spinning pretty fast, and it's gotten him dizzy, and it's just like doubling on his depression. He's like, "I told him nobody should sit near the outer wall when we're spinning this briskly," which again brings me back to the doorkeeper. Like, that must be a terrible job to have because he's just sitting there waiting for people who need to come in and
that's
out.
a good point. I hope he has good pay.
Yeah. And so Kearney's just like expounding on this man's like, misfortune, and Jason's like, "Well, what's wrong with him? Like, what happened to him?" And Kearney goes, "Where have you been? He's the sole survivor of the Giddy Nine." And Jason goes, "Hold up, what?"
Yeah. If you
And
remember,
initially he's like, "Hey, I did save somebody."
I saved someone. If you remember, the Giddy Nine was the group of musicians that were on the boat trying to summon a Beyonder in the very first chapter. I don't know.
Yeah, we heard from Galorant that their leader had been in touch with the prophetess and with the spellweaver who had summoned Rachel, and so this man was connected to them. He was one of the Giddy Nine. Mm-hmm. So Jason is very interested very quickly.
Yeah. And so he says, I'll buy him some chowder and just, put it on my tab. And so they go over to talk to him, and this is the namesake of the chapter. His name is Tark. And so they start talking to him, and Jason's like, "Oh, I bought you some chowder." They introduce themselves. It's like, "Oh, I bought you some food." And then, again, as I said, he's depressed, and we get the full view of that. He starts talking about his friends, and he says, well, Jason says, "I heard about your friends." And then Tark says, "They were the lucky ones." And then Rachel's like, "But didn't they die?" And then Tark says, "Like I was supposed to." And it's just like, oh gosh, he's really
struggling,
down in the dark.
Yeah, Jason's just like, "Crap, the one person I did manage to help didn't want my help." It's giving,
Yeah.
Wait, real idea.
It's like the one person that he saved didn't actually want to be saved in the end.
But yeah, we get a little bit more background on Tark. He played the Susalax, which is the largest lung-driven instrument, so it's giving extra large tuba.
Yeah. He says only 6 or 7 men along the coast have the capacity to sound it properly, which, yeah, big lung capacity.
So he felt bad because, like, he's supposed to be, like, the baseline. He's supposed to be, like, the foundation, he says, for the other instruments. And because the plan was that if the prophet... Okay, so the plan was, according to Simeon, to float down the river playing music to the waterfall. Because according to the prophetess, who had spoken to Simeon, their leader, it would summon a hero to help depose Maldor. He had an exact date, an exact time, and eventually they all came to an unanimous accord. Some needed some convincing and cajoling, but eventually they all agreed to do it, because they felt like they needed a real hero. And here we get another reference to something. Not, Tark says, we need a real hero, not these fakers looking for a free ride to Hearthenham. This is the second or third time we've had a mention of Hearthenham. We don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
But it is something that's been mentioned.
Yeah, Hearthenham
twice.
gets mentioned a lot.
Mm-hmm. We still don't know what it is, but it's something that's been dropped a couple times that we're just like picking up notices of. But so they were convinced to play right up until the end and summon a hero by their sacrifice. But Tark feels bad because he feels like he ruined everything.
Mm-hmm. And then the waitress brings their food, and she's like, "Don't let him get started again." Like, you just get the sense that everyone in the tavern is just like heard his story like a million times, and they feel bad for him, but they also like don't know what to do with him, and so it's just kind of there. And then we get to a part where I'm sure Jason is feeling very awkward and a little nervous because after eating some of the chowder, Tark says, "It was all the fault of that sadist who fired the rescue arrow." And then Jason, like, stiffens and is like, being like,
"Don't look at me, don't
look at me. Yeah.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious."
And Tark says, "We were all resolved to our course of action until a chance for escape thrust itself upon us. With the arrival of that line to our shore, our determination slackened." And then he says that the arrow actually hit this guy named Stylus, who he says was the most reluctant to actually like do the going off the falls. Yeah, the sacrifice. And he kind of talks about how when the arrow hit and they started going to shore, all of a sudden they all, whether or not they wanted to be saved, they all got hope. And then as the line was cut, it was probably worse for the rest of the Giddy Nine, because all of a sudden that slight hope that they'd suddenly gotten was then wrenched away, and then they probably just died in fear. Like, the picture that he paints is so, like, worst situation, pessimistic, depressed, like, sad picture of the situation.
And of course Jason is, like, feeling this hitting him too, because he just wanted to help, but really he's seeing how, like, his actions have actually made things worse in some ways.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Tark is alive, but he's being tortured by, like, the looks of his friends as they went over the cliff, as some of them tried to stay brave and continue playing. Like, he mentions how one person managed to get a hit off with the cymbals as the grand finale, and he feels bad because that was supposed to be his job.
Mm-hmm. He is very haunted.
Yeah, he gets into some heavy stuff because he's saying how the prophecy went unfulfilled. For the rest of my days, I'll be burdened with the knowledge that it was my fault. Nobody will ever know if the prophecy could have come true because I abandoned the sacrifice. The Giddy Nine were supposed to go over the falls. Instead, 8 frightened musicians plunged to their deaths, leaving one wretched craven behind.
Yeah. And he even says that,
yeah,
like you said, it gets a little darker. He says that he's been tempted to commit suicide, but he thinks that would be the coward's way out. And so he's resolved just to wander in his depression and sadness, which is very depressing.
Yes. Except for his one slim shaft of purpose he has.
Yeah.
Which makes Jason squirm even more. Because Tark goes, "I wish I could find the lowlife who shot that arrow. He's the one who ruined our sacrifice. Without his interference, I would have remained true to our cause. Paying him back is my sole remaining purpose." Jason is like, what did he look like? Tark is like, well, he kind of looked like you, actually, from what I heard.
Oh my gosh. You just like the situation, like it's not funny, but it's also like kind of funny because like
A little bit.
he's standing right in front of him, having been the one who shot the arrow, and he's like, "Oh, what does he look like?"
And he's 13 years old. You know he doesn't have that great of a poker face.
Yeah. Thankfully, Tark is probably too dizzy, too drunk, and not thinking. He probably thinks like it was like a grown up who shot the arrow, not like a teenager. And then Rachel tries to help, and she's like, maybe you shouldn't target the poor guy who shot the arrow. He was probably just trying to help. And then that's when Jason's like, he kind of helps redirect Tark, because he says, we all know who the real villain is. And then Tark is like, Maldor. And then Jason is like, if you want to lose your life doing something useful, go after him. That would be the best way to honor the sacrifice your friends made. Who knows? Maybe you're the hero they were trying to summon. And all of a sudden, Tark is like filled with purpose. He's like redirected his depression and anger toward a target. And
well, a target other than Jason.
a target other than Jason. A named target.
Yeah. Like, he even pulls out a knife and sticks it into the tabletop, and
Yeah.
Jason stares at it like, okay, he wanted to stab that into me 10
Yeah.
seconds ago.
Exactly.
Okay, that's fun.
Like literally,
But Tark, yeah.
Tark is so intense. He literally says, I may not have died, but my life ended on those falls. So I have nothing to fear. Like a ghost, I will stalk Maldor and his minions. Keep this conversation between the three of us. We never met. Good luck to you, friend Jason. You have revived me. The words, I will stalk Maldor and his minions like a ghost, is crazy. It's also a banger.
What a bro. It is, so. Tark's a real one. He gets purpose, he gets direction, and he's ride or die.
Yeah. And he commits really fast to things.
But yeah, so they ended up finishing their seafood. And Jason is kind of just still processing, like, everything. He's saying how, okay, that knife was destined to slit my throat. I need to process that a little bit.
Yeah. He's also, like, has to come to terms with the fact that, like how you were saying earlier, like, the person that he did save hates him, or did hate him, and he's, like, you know, has to process the fact that even though, like, he tried to help with, like, good intentions, and, like, he thought something good might have come out of it, like, it, like, didn't. And, I don't know. I think that kind of speaks to the world of Lyrian, in that a lot of things tend to go wrong, or, like, things happen that, like, you think would be good, but end up being bad. It's pretty common.
Yeah. I do need to mention this, though, because you mentioned the land is called Lyrian, which we know, we've established. But Jason decides to rename it as when he tips the waitress, because he finds out that the little pellets that they were given by Gallerand are called Druma. There are 1 Druma denominations and 5 Druma denominations. So the copper are 1, the bronze are 5. And Jason, their meal cost 4 Druma.
Yeah.
And he gives her a 5 Druma piece and says, keep the change. She goes back and she's, like, really excited about it. And she's, like, telling the tavern, the barkeeper, about it. And Jason says, she sounded so sincere, Jason decided that the people in Hippo Land must be lousy tippers.
I marked that too. I thought it was so funny. I never noticed that before.
This place is called Lyrian. I didn't notice until just now. I was looking at the page and I saw the word hippo and I was like, what?
Yeah, I literally didn't notice until this reread, and I was like, he calls it Hippo Land? That's
like,
so
you've heard the name
funny.
Lyrian several times at this point.
I think it's so funny. And people in
These
Hippo Land
guys
must
go
be
with
lousy tippers.
Hippo Land.
I mean, he's just thinking to himself. That's pretty funny.
It's hilarious.
And then, like, the whole time that he's, like, giving the money, you can tell that Rachel, and, like, afterwards she, like, says, like, oh, hey, big spender, you still with me? And she's like, dude, you just gave her, like, a 25% tip. And that's just, like, basically you're drawing attention to yourself with money, because it looks like you're flaunting your money and drawing attention to them both. And she's like, why are you dumb, Jason? Like, why are you not thinking this through?
Mm-hmm.
And then
it's
go ahead.
yeah, she really lays into it later, especially after Jason overpays for a room at the inn. And she's just like, dude, we gotta be smarter. But at the same time, like, they're 13. They're not understanding, and they were gonna make mistakes like this regardless. Mistakes like, because they didn't know how much the money is worth. They didn't know things like that. They were gonna have to make those kinds of mistakes, and they could only pray that they would come at times so there wasn't gonna cost them too badly.
Well, and here's the thing, and we actually kind of didn't talk about this from the earlier scene. This entire time, the barkeeper has only been talking to Jason and directing all of his remarks to Jason and not Rachel. And that's, like, kind of pissing her off because, you know, she's, again, just like, and she feels like she's a piece of furniture, America. You know?
Yeah.
And
she's coming from modern America.
I think that's why
society.
I think that's why, I mean, we're in a patriarchal society, but yeah.
Yes, but, like, a patriarchal society regressed 300 years.
Yes. But that's why I think, yes, they're 13, but I feel like, obviously, to me, it seemed like Rachel was picking up on the stuff. Like, she saw someone pay for the soup and was like, oh, was that a copper Juma that he just paid with? So, like, she's, like, picking up on things more than Jason is, but she can't really help him because they're only talking to Jason, expecting Jason to have all the answers because he's the guy. And so I just think that's kind of interesting, is that I feel like if Rachel had been the one to do it, I think she probably could have finessed and, like, her, like, picked up on it faster than him and probably would have had a different outcome.
Mm-hmm. And I will still say this as well, to Rachel's credit. She is getting mad, but she's not letting that, like, impede her judgment. She mentions, while they're on their way to talk to Tark, I'm trying to find the exact place where it mentions it.
I think she's more just, like, saying, hey, we need to be more careful and less open.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And even besides that, when they're walking away from the bartender, Rachel says, he didn't ask me what I wanted to drink. Mm-hmm. And Jason says, now is not the time to discuss women's rights. And Rachel could have very easily, like, spoken up and, like, drawn attention to herself, but she chose not to because she knew that, like, not to say that Jason's way of saying that was correct, but his point stands. Like, yeah, he was throwing back at her face and being rude about it, but his point stands. Now is not the time to draw attention to ourselves.
Honestly, she's doing a good job.
Rachel understands that. Exactly.
She's doing a good job of restraining
herself. And she mentions it to Jason because he's the one she can talk to. Mm-hmm. And she makes it, like, she expresses her feelings, which is better than letting it get, like, pent up and fester. And she's letting Jason take the lead, even though she disagrees with some of his decisions, because she knows that is the overall less suspicious thing to do. Yeah.
So, yeah, they pay for the Puckerleys, and as you said, because he overpaid, the barkeeper is like, oh, I see an opportunity to make more money out of this. And he's like, oh, my mom owns the only inn in town. I'm sure we could get you some rooms. It might be, you know, well, first he says a room for 9 druba. And then Jason's like, oh, we need 2 rooms. She's my sister. Because he had assumed that they were, like, together. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, might push the price up to 12. And Rachel can't say anything, so Jason, like, agrees to it. And then he's like, oh, let me personally escort you to my mother's inn. You know, like, you just kind of get the sense that, like, he's taking extra good care of them, you know, because they're overpaying. So, yeah.
And to Jason's credit, he does look to Rachel.
Yeah.
It mentions, after the price is mentioned, Rachel offered Jason no clues to her opinion. So he does look to her, like, kind of checking how she feels about it. I'll give him that much.
But, again,
but she can't
say anything, or else it would be weird.
Yeah. I mean, she could have given a little shake of the head, but... And again, my point is that Jason at least looks.
Yeah. I'm not saying Jason is, like, dumb. I just think it's kind of funny or interesting that, like, he wasn't picking up on it, but Rachel was. So if she had been able to do it, she might have gotten better. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that ends the chapter of Tark.
Mm-hmm.
We met Tark, and he is come and gone with new purpose. And so now we're going to the inn for the night, and we start.
We do find out how they dismount from the inn.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we start with chapter 10. Ned.
So they leave the tavern, and apparently they jump out and they roll on a long mattress stuffed with straw. Kearney, the barkeeper, used his momentum to somersault expertly to his feet. Interesting.
Well, he has a lot of practice.
Uh-huh. I'm just, like, picturing that. I would love to see that in now a movie adaptation.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So as they're going down the road, a tall man with curly orange hair and freckles, specifically more freckles than skin, came up to them, wearing what looked like a large, long sack with holes cut for his head and arms. So,
he's looking
nice attire.
Homeless.
Yes.
It's giving homeless.
It's giving homeless. He wore a black leather glove on one hand and no shoes. And even without shoes, he stood a few inches taller than Jason. And he walked uncomfortably close to them.
That's pretty tall. Because I feel like we've established Jason is, like, at least 6 foot, maybe over 6 foot.
I think it said he was approaching 6 foot in the first chapter. I'm slipping backwards to check. He now stood almost 6 feet tall. So I'm guessing Ned's probably 6'1".
Yeah.
So, again, this person inquires about the barkeeper, Kearney's friends, and the barkeeper is saying, like, this guy's not well. They're none of your business, Ned. Stay back.
He's trying to get him to leave him alone, and Ned is taking a lot of interest in them. Well, as they talk about later, the whole town is taking a lot of interest in them, but Ned is the one that kind of comes up to them and expresses the interest. And he's like, who are these outsiders, you know? And he kind of points out that they're pretty young, and he's obviously very interested in them, and obviously kind of weird. So
they enter into the inn. Kearney says, "Hey, here are some customers. They're agreeing to pay for 2 rooms for 12 druma. Wink, wink."
Exactly.
He's not that obvious, but it definitely, and Jason notices this to his credit. He notices that the woman's eyes widen in surprise, and Jason realizes, yeah, they're overpaying, and he does consider haggling, but then he says, in his mind, he's like, well, I already agreed, so I don't want to make too much of a hassle, and he feels that they could afford trouble. It, so,
yeah. So yeah, they get 2 rooms, each with a hammock and a trunk and some stuff, and I mean, hammock makes sense because they're in a fishing village, so people near the sea sleep in hammocks.
And instead of curtains, they have nets.
Yeah, interesting.
Very on theme.
Very on theme. And so they both go into Rachel's room and they talk to each other. And Rachel makes a good point. She says, "Do you think the hostess left us with the only keys to our trunks?" Basically saying, like, we shouldn't trust that we're the only ones who have access to both this room and our trunks, so we shouldn't put anything, like, leave anything valuable behind.
Don't trust a lock if you don't know where its other's keys are.
Exactly. And then Rachel's like, "I know it isn't your fault, but I didn't like how I was treated in the tavern. People acted like I didn't exist." And then Jason's like, "Oh yeah, you did a good job rolling with it." And she's like, I know, but I wanted to help. I knew Kearney wanted to overcharge us. And then she's like, didn't you notice how the waitress went back and right to him after you tipped her? And then Jason kind of says, sort of, but in his mind, he's like, yeah, I should have caught on to that.
Again, Rachel's showing herself to be very mature here. She's pointing out things that they can learn from and expressing how she's not happy about how she's treated, but that she understands that she does have to roll with it in some ways.
And they're talking about how they've drawn a lot of attention and that it'll be good for them to leave in the morning. And they make some jokes. Jason's like, I hear you. We'll lay low and stay at our rooms. Do you think they have HBO? Only in the fitness center, Rachel replied. It's funny.
Maybe we should go to the Cineplex.
Yeah. And of course, Jason's like, I'm a little tired. Maybe I'll take a nap. That kid can sleep anytime, anywhere.
I respect him for it. And I will I will challenge him to a napping contest.
Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting because they kind of... Jason is contemplating his interactions with Tark, and he says, quick question. Do you think... Or no, Rachel says, quick question. Do you think you're the hero the Giddy Nine were trying to summon? And Jason thinks on it, and he's like, am I really the hero that they were hoping to call? Just wondering if he really is like the person that can help. And then he's kind of like, if I was the hero they were looking for, those musicians were crazier than anyone realized. And then Rachel's like, pretty coincidental. Feel like, maybe she doesn't like say it, but like kind of the feeling like maybe we should believe it a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
At this point, she's like, it's quite a coincidence. Like, there's the fact that they had the days, the times, that their arrival was so anticipated by these people who called them out.
Mm-hmm.
It's sparking something in them where they're thinking, well, I guess this is what we're supposed to do. But even then, Jason's still feeling like he was very inspired by Galaran. But now he's just like, if I was the hero they were looking for, those musicians were crazier than anyone ever realized. So
yeah.
He's still got a bit of the pessimism and fear left in him, but he's working on it.
Yeah. I like when he goes back to his room and he's just kind of thinking. I like that we have this like little part where he's still thinking about it and is just like, could I possibly be like the person that these people need? Me who's like not done anything really ever in my life. Am I possibly the person? Galaran has faith. Can I live up to his expectations? I just kind of like this because, of course, being a 13-year-old from Colorado, like he would have doubts in himself to be the hero. So I just kind of like, but we get to be in his head a little bit and like see this like beginning part where he's doubting if he can even do anything to help,
Now, if he'd been a 13-year-old from Texas...
Knox. You'd have a lot of confidence.
I wasn't even referring to that, but that works so well.
Okay, well, you said Texas.
I was just going for general stereotypes.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Don't mess with
Well
Texas, as Knox would say.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man, yeah. Hey, there's a nice in-between. What's in between Colorado and Texas? New Mexico?
Yeah.
Oklahoma? Something like that. Alright, so... Hey, wait, now we do actually know what Jason looks like, now that I think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Because between Ned and Tark, I think we finally got a description of what Jason looks like. So we know that Rachel is shorter than Jason. She has, like, shoulder-length brown hair and dark eyes, I believe.
I think so.
Now, thanks to Tark and Ned, who comes crawling in the window after an hour or two of Jason's nap, we know that Jason has blue eyes, sandy hair, and is tall.
No, Ned comes to the door right now.
Oh, he does come to the door?
Yeah, he knocks on the door. Yeah.
Window comes later. Sorry, my bad.
Yes. yeah, he comes in and he says, "Hi, Blue Eyes." So yeah, Jason has blue eyes and sandy brown hair.
We're like detectives picking out pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah.
I wonder if Brandon won't realize that he hadn't given a physical description of Jason, which was hard because the entire thing has been from Jason's POV so far.
That's true.
And so he just works it in to
That's
the
a good
actual
point.
narrative.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Ned has invaded Jason's room and starts questioning him.
Yeah. With some very interesting questions.
Yes.
You're a man on the move, or maybe on the run? And then he goes, you ever swallowed a swallow? Ever badgered a badger? Ever outfoxed a fox? And I'm really wondering if these are key codes.
Right? Like, I feel like...
There's gotta be, like, a passcode there somehow.
I feel like it's supposed to make you think he's crazy. But either he likes word games, or he's trying to, like, get something out of him. Like a passcode. Because
like there's a desired response.
Because the next thing he says after Jason says, "I'm a friend, Ned. Like, it's fine." He says, "They're all looking for you. I found you, though. Tell me true. Have you seen the book?" And then Jason says, "What book?" "The one that saw you." So Ned knows about the Book of Salzared, which is huge. And
I mean, Galaran did mention, while they were talking to him, saying how, do not tell people about the book, but if they tell you about the book, that either means you can definitely trust them, or you can't trust them at all. So a lot of people were just eliminated. Like, he's either the far end of trustworthiness, or the exact opposite.
Yeah. And Ned, again, is being very weird and cryptic, because he's like, "Tell me the truth, or I'm taking off the glove," and Jason's like, "I don't know what that means, but I don't really want you to do it, so..."
Like, it seemed like you're a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs there, sir.
Yeah.
So,
but,
yes, I've seen the book.
Yeah. But then Ned does say, like, "I once defied Maldor. Bad choice. Worst choice. The more you defy him..." This line is interesting.
I love the wordplay here.
"The more you defy him, the more you deify him. He is the puppet master. He holds all the strings."
And once again, going back to things that Galaran told them, Maldor loves to play with and break the people who oppose him. He did it to Galaran, the blind king, who is now blind and stranded in a pretend kingdom.
Yeah.
Where he can only defy Maldor in small ways, and he's really just like a figurehead of what happens. And now we have Ned, who also seems to have received the worst end of Maldor's treatments in punishment for his defiance.
Uh-huh.
But again, specifically that line, the more that you defy him, the more you deify him. Love that line.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Because if you don't know what deify means, it refers to the word deity, which means God or like godlike. So it's like the more
he becomes God.
Yeah. Or like it could also mean God. Like the more you defy him, the more you realize the power he has. Because maybe the more like force he brings to bear against you, you know, like because if Ned was tortured, like, okay, we could say Ned was tortured kind of like Galaran, you know that if you're feeling the full force of like Maldor's displeasure, like you learn to appreciate how much power he has, you know. So that it's an interesting line.
And again, Jason is continuous, like he's backing up. He's scared. He tries to draw the poniard, the knife from Galaran, and Ned immediately chops it out of his hand and snatches. Chops it out of his, thank you. Chops it out of his hand and snatches it from the air, and almost immediately puts it right to Jason. Starts threatening Jason with it. He's inspecting it even too, and being, "Where did you get this?" Because he recognizes the mark on the pommel, and I love Jason trying to be like, I could take this guy. I
Yeah.
can do this, even after he got disarmed in like 2 seconds.
He's like, he's skinny. I could take him. No, you can't, Jason. Nice
No,
try.
you cannot.
But
It's cute that you can think so.
and Ned is like, I already know the answer, but I need to hear it from you. Where did you get this? Did you steal it? No. Found it? No. And he's like pushing him. And then Jason,
More than that, his thumb is on the trigger that would eject the blade
Yeah,
as
he
it's
knows-
being pointed at Jason.
he knows where the secret trigger is. Like, he recognizes this blade, and it's make.
And Jason's trying so hard to be strong and not sell Galaran out, but he's a 13-year-old kid and he's scared.
Yeah. But then Ned said something interesting. He says, as a lad, I served one man I would never betray. His mark lies upon the sheath. And so then Jason relents and he says, Galaran gave me the knife. And that line shocks Ned because he says he lives. He drops the dagger and he says he lives.
It's almost like it shocks him into lucidity for a moment.
Yeah, honestly.
Like, before this, like, almost all of his words were confused and, like, in code. Swallow to swallow, outfox to fox. Have you seen the book, The One That Saw You? Like, it makes sense in context, but it's very coded, it's confused. He is the puppet master, he holds all the strings. But the second he sees the knife and hears that Galaran's alive, he becomes a bit more lucid for that second. It's like, he lives, and then immediately he's, again, wow, Jason really just inspires these people to be ride or die for him. Because now
yeah.
Ned's immediately, he plunges his fingers into his orange curls, and he just goes, I pity you. Poor dupe, poor gull. Listen, Ned never saw you. Leave in the night. A road departs town to the northeast. The overland loop, or a trail leads southeast. Well, I guess he still goes a little cray-cray.
He's a little
What's
cray-cray.
under your glove? My string. And that is worth threatening me. Why?
The puppet master. The thing that connects him to Maldor.
Fetch, I forgot. Oh,
Because he
Fetch,
called
I
him the
forgot
puppet
about that.
master, and then he says, you want to see
Yes.
my string. It's something about what's under the glove connects him to Maldor somehow. That's
Again.
what he means.
But, like, again, I wasn't able to see it, and I bet most first-time readers probably wouldn't see that.
Yeah, because after he calls Maldor the puppet master, he says, want to see my string, pointing at his hand. And then Jason, he still won't tell Jason what it is, but yeah. But he says, it's kind of crazy how just mentioning Galaran makes Ned from going, like confronting Jason to
From threatening
helping Jason. Because he's like, oh, I'll
Yeah.
scout for you. I'll come for you in the night. Like, he's now going to help them get out of town instead of just questioning why they're there. So, and it's exactly what Galaran said. He said, be careful to use my name, but my name will open doors with those who still think of me as an ally. So, it's working.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
So Rachel comes by from next door, and she's like, you good?
Yeah.
Thin walls here. Thin walls.
She's like, I heard pretty much everything.
And so they're debating, do we get out of here? Is it time to go? But
Can we
Jason's
trust
saying,
Ned?
They decide to end. Jason ends up saying, at this point, they don't really have a choice. They know that they look suspicious. Other people have probably figured it out at this point as well. Ned's probably their best shot at getting out.
They also decide they can't leave until it's dark, or else it'd be even more suspicious. But they
Especially since
decide,
they've already paid for the room.
yeah, they decide to give the innkeeper some money with a tip, and ask her to go get them some provisions that they can take with them when they leave, because they don't want to go out and continue being suspicious. So they do that, and Jason goes back to his nap.
He really does nap a lot.
He
which I relate
does,
to.
which is so funny because it's like a continuous joke throughout at least this book, which is funny. So
He's a growing boy.
it's a funny quirk. I enjoy it. the running
I'm also
gag.
yeah, like, this is a kid. He's on summer break. He doesn't have school for 8 hours a day. Like, he doesn't have, like, a baseball practice either. Like, let him, he's...
I wouldn't call it a break. He's kind of
Well,
running
he
for
was
his
on summer
life.
break. He was on summer break.
No, he wasn't.
Wasn't he?
It was February.
Oh, no, you're right. Where's my brain kind of go? Well, I don't know. It's just like, even though, like, yeah, they're doing more stuff, but he doesn't have stuff to do so much at this time. And so yeah,
he does say
like, well,
that he's bad with he does say that he's bad with boredom. That's why he sleeps a lot. So he does explain that. But he is awoken from his nap by a sound. And he goes to the window and he sees Ned. And he realizes Ned's now come for him. And the reason that Ned is there is that he points out that there's someone in the hallway. Jason hears someone. And so Ned helps him out the window and up onto the roof. And just after he gets up on the roof, and Rachel's there too. Ned already helped Rachel up. Someone is picking the lock to his room and comes in, and they don't know who it is, but they hear some voices. And when the people realize that the room is empty, they go and break down Rachel's room and find that they're gone. And so Ned came just in the nick of time to help them avoid these, whoever they were, that broke into their house, or not their house, their rooms.
So Ned deepens the intrigue, though. He mentions, so the three of them are reunited on top of the roof, and Ned goes, "You have a friend." Because apparently Ned discovered a riderless horse wandering into town. He went over the loop, found a conscriptor, one of the things that turn not harmless, big dogs into terrifying monsters.
Yes.
Found one face down on the roadside, stab wounds in the back with a dead mangler not far off. He dragged the corpses into the woods, but there is a friend somewhere out in the woods, and there are strange folk in town. Just get out. Now's the time to go.
And then Ned just dips. He just leaves.
He moves silently across the roof, nothing creaking, and just drops out of sight.
Yeah.
What a beast.
Yeah. And so they're like, well, I guess we'll follow his advice. And they get off the roof. Jason kind of falls off of the roof partially, but he's fine.
In his defense, the roof broke.
Yeah, it did. So yeah. But they managed to get out of town without anyone seeing. And
there's a solid joke here. After Jason falls off the porch, he falls down like 10, 15 feet, and he's like, the wind is completely knocked out of him. For a second, he's worried he's paralyzed. Rachel drops down next to him and says, "Good thing I'm carrying the explosives."
Yeah. Good thing.
Again, it's not his fault, but at the same time, it's funny.
That is funny.
They make their way out. They travel for another day. Like, by noon the next day, they've reached another town.
They're walking, let's see. It becomes daytime. They're walking along. They hear a wagon coming. They hide on the side of the road. Yeah, that next day they find another town and go through. But they don't stay the night. As they're walking through this second little village, it's kind of sad. They see a group of kids running around playing. And then Jason kind of muses to himself. He's thinking, this world is no place for children. What sort of future would these little ones have? Kind of being
it's a little depressing, like, depressed people. Kind of sucks.
Yeah.
For the innocent.
So yeah, they walk through this little village, and they're like, well, we're not staying in this town either. So they
even
keep
regret going through the town in the first place. They wish they'd gone around initially.
Yeah.
But They finally find a place to bed down for the night, and Rachel offers to take first watch. So, he falls asleep, and the next chapter, chapter 11, Farron, opens with Jason awaking to a centipede crawling on his face. So, that's pleasant.
Yep.
Been there, done that, just wasn't a centipede.
I'm kind of terrified to ask. What was it?
Cockroach.
Oh, okay. Yikes.
It was the worst thing
That's
ever.
what I was scared of.
It wasn't on my face, so just inside of my arm.
Anywhere is bad.
Yeah. I, like, smacked it off in the darkness. My roommate woke up, and I was like, I'm pretty sure there was just a cockroach on my arm. And she was like, oh, you're probably just asleep. And then we heard it flying, and we're like, oh, terrible.
Oh my gosh, I hate cockroaches so much.
In case you guys forgot, cockroaches can fly, and it's terrifying.
It is terrifying.
Because you don't see them fly often, but they can. So just, like, knowing that it's possible and hearing it fly around in the dark, yeah. It sucked. Epically. We never found it.
Burn the house down. Anyway.
The temptation was strong.
So yeah,
you're welcome for that mental image.
thanks. So Jason is awoken the next morning, and he sees Rachel asleep on watch. And, to his credit, he's not mad. He is like, starts to try to make breakfast quietly, but the noise wakes her up, and then she's like, oh crap, I fell asleep on watch. Take off your socks, it's time for the punishment. And Jason, well, first of all, he's like, no, I also fell asleep and I got a warning. You don't have to do it this time. And Rachel's kind of determined to stick to the punishment, to follow through. And then Jason kind of teases her a little bit, and he's like, they're pretty stuck on my feet. I might need your help, which is disgusting.
Oh no, it gets worse. He says, some of my blisters popped yesterday. The socks feel plastered to my soles.
Ew.
But he really does end up letting her off the hook. He says, next time you blow it, you will smell and taste my socks. Same goes for me. No mercy from now on.
Yeah.
Which, I appreciate it. And it is fair. He got a chance, she gets a chance.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there goes any credibility you may have had with your students, and now they will no longer respect you. You gotta enforce consequences, otherwise they lose all meaning.
Yeah.
Sorry, just
The teacher came out.
Yeah, a little bit. Sorry, this is one of the first things you learn. You gotta be consistent.
That's funny.
But yes, continue on.
Consequences or not aside, they continue on their way, and it says about mid-morning, they come to a major crossroad of two main roads. And they stop there and they're like, okay, we can't go this way. This will take us back to the village. We can't go that way. It'll take us the wrong way. It's either north or east. And I think they decided to go east. But as they're deliberating, they suddenly hear a voice. And they're like, looking around. And they're like, who's there? Hello? And they realize that the voice is coming from a sack that is high up on a post, and the crossroads, and they're very confused
because the sack looks barely big enough to hold a bowling ball.
Yeah, and the voice says, "Please help me. I'm up here. Could you help me down?" And then they're like, are you in the sack? Where are you? And they're like, yes. The voice is, yes. My name is Farron. I'm a displacer. I was attacked by a group of ruffians who robbed me and left me here to die. Could you help me down? And then they continue to be very confused. They're like, we don't know, like, how are you in there? And then the voice again is just like, come on, I'm a displacer. It's not nice to make fun of someone, even if you might not like who they are, because they're showing their naivete and their ignorance of not knowing what a displacer is.
Yeah, but this is another one of those things I was mentioning earlier. Like, to some extent, they cannot help but make mistakes. That can be with the money, not recognizing the people or species or
Yeah.
things around them,
Yeah.
because that is just like they don't have anybody who knows what's going on. They're helpless in those ways.
Yeah.
So there, in some ways, they are going to be taken advantage of, and they are going to make mistakes that show, like, well, that they're beyonders, or at the very least, very naive.
Yeah. They try to explain it away, being like, oh, we're really far. We're not from here. We're from far away. We don't know what Displacer is. And so the voice is like, oh, Farron, we know his name now. Farron explains that you can, like, take off a body part of a Displacer and it doesn't harm them. So basically he says, my head is in the sack. My body is buried somewhere. If you could please help me dig up my body and reattach my head, I would be eternally grateful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he even mentions, like, even drops, like, some solid vocabulary here. Parts severed from my body remain linked by cross-dimensional connections.
Yeah.
So, we love some extra large words.
I like the part where Jason's like, so you can reattach your head? And then Ferris says, nothing could be simpler. Coming apart doesn't serve much purpose unless you can put yourself back together. She's like, yeah, that's a good point. So, they have a little discussion with each other, and they're like, should we actually help him? I don't know what to do. And they're like, well, we can't just let him die. And then they're like, well, what if he's a criminal? And then they're like, well, if he's a criminal, that might mean he's on our side, because anyone who's a criminal is more likely to probably be against Maldor. So they decide to help. They find the place where the body is buried, and they start digging him up. And at a certain point, Farron's able to, like, help with them. But it's gotta be so weird, because he doesn't have a head. He's just a body, you know? It's just, that would be trippy.
Indeed. Yeah. So, Farron mentions he can help get his head through the sack. So, he asks for one of them to lead his body over to the sack, and Rachel's just like, nope.
Not me. She's, like, making, like, gestures of, like, not me. You do it, Jason.
So he grabs the hand and pulls it over.
And he looks down, and he says he stared down at the headless neck, observing a perfect cross-section of muscle, skin, fat, blood cells, and bone, spinal cord, the esophagus, everything. Strangely, no soil clung to the exposed tissue, which is, interesting, but also makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He mentions later, the displacement field that keeps me connected protects the exposed portions of my anatomy. It's really, really interesting, he mentions, because Farron mentions he still has control over his body, even when parts are disconnected. Because his body doesn't feel disconnected. Blood from the heart still moves up to his head, even though it's not connected. The air he breathes through the sac is still filling the lungs. Everything remains connected. It just, again, cross-dimensional physics. It has to cross through the displacement field, as he calls it. I did some air quotes there. I just realized you guys couldn't see them. And it still allows him to live, despite the fact that he is basically the Headless Horseman.
I love the name Displacer. I think it's such a good name for it, because, like, displace, like, taking something apart, or, like, taking it from its proper place. Like, you could displace, like, yourself. I think it's just such a good, clever name.
Agreed.
And, like, interesting idea of a race of people who can, like, take their bodies apart and put it back together. Like, it's so interesting.
And we find out after they've gotten the bag down and Farron has reattached his head, which we now know he is a... Do we get a description for Farron?
He's about the same height as Jason.
Yeah, which is why he was able to see the neck.
Yeah.
Well, he says the neck comes up to the top of his chest, so he's a little bit shorter than Jason. But yeah.
Let's see.
So, anyways.
Yeah, I don't think there's a
Farron's a
description.
bit roughed up,
Yeah.
but he describes himself as a wizard born, which is interesting because most of the people that we've seen have been people.
Human.
Humans without any magical or extraordinary features.
Yeah.
Whereas wizard-born, they are metaphorical, like they're not literally born from wizards. However, they were created by wizards using the Adamic language.
Mm-hmm.
And no wizard-born species or races are very beloved by regular humans. And displacers, he mentions, are even extra despised because they're hard to distinguish from regular humans, and because they're dying out, making them easy to pick on.
Hence why he was
yeah.
robbed and left for dead.
In a sec. Indeed.
Yes. But he's very grateful to them for helping him.
Yes, they end up asking Farron for directions to Trenzacourt. And Farron, more than offering directions, also offers himself as a guide.
Yeah, he's
Because
like...
he is also going eastward.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's just like, if you don't mind traveling with a displacer, I'm happy to help you out.
Yeah. Because he says, he like warns them, you know, traveling with a displacer could mean that people are more suspicious of you, or, you know, because displacers are hated, you might also get that hate towards you as well. And they're like, well, you know, we haven't gotten that many warm welcomes either, so we'll take our chances. Basically, like, we'll take our chances. You know, it'd be nice to have someone who knows where they're going and has a little bit more knowledge of the area to go with them. So, yeah. They decided to go with Farron.
Mm-hmm. Really their only choice, honestly, at this point.
Yeah. And you know what? I like Farron, so I'm happy that they're with him. Anyway, Farron is one of my favorite characters.
He's pretty great.
I love him.
He has such a good dry humor.
He does. That's one of my favorite things about him. He has great sarcasm, adds a lot of levity to the conversations, and a lot of knowledge.
He's got a very good attitude.
Yeah.
He teaches Jason and Rachel how to find bubble fruit. He gets them walking sticks. He starts harmonizing whistles with Rachel for Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Yeah. He's very fun. Mm-hmm. I like him.
So they come to another town and they go to the inn. And they get lunch. Everything's going fine. Farron goes off to... What's he doing?
He's going to the bathroom.
Right. He's off to the bathroom. And Rachel and Jason are just, commenting on how nice it is to have him around. He's the most likable person we've met since the Blind King, stuff like that. And Jason even says, in his mind, in spite of the detachable body parts, Farron seemed like the sort of person he might have become friends with under any circumstances. Mm-hmm. So he's just got a likable personality.
As they say, he's the most likable person we've met since the Blind King. You know?
Mm-hmm. And then his nice reminiscence is interrupted by a knife to the side. Thankfully, not plunged in, but it's there.
Yep. And he is surprised because the person holding the knife used to only have one arm. And
it's our good old rescuer, again said with air quotes because he did none of the actual rescuing, from the river back when the Giddy Nine was floating off the waterfall, along with his stout buddy that Jason had pushed into the water.
Yeah. So it's the guys from the river have tracked him down somehow and followed him all the way here and are now threatening him at knife point, saying, you need to come with us. And Jason's like, well, crap. This is not a good situation to be in.
And he tries to follow solid, kidnapping procedures. Don't be alone with your kidnappers.
Don't go to a
that's
second
one of the
location.
first things you're turned. Exactly. It's one of the first things you learn.
Yeah.
But they're also just we don't want a scene, but we will stab you and then your friend.
Yeah. And then Jason is like, oh, so it was you two who broke into our room back at the village with the tavern go round. And they were like, yeah, we don't know how you got away. Good job there. Why don't you come with us? And then at that moment is when Farron comes back. And he says, these friends of yours? And then Jason's like, sure. What were your names again? And their names are Tad and Kale. And then Farron says, calmly, do you mind if I name your friends? And Jason's like, why not?
Again, they match their energy
They
very well.
match their energy so well. Which is another reason why I love Farron. He's just like, mind if I name your friends? And Jason's like, go ahead. And so Farron takes his walking stick and smacks Tad right on the head, send him sprawling. So yeah, they're fighting. Farron
proves his
Farron is handy in a fight.
handy.
Handy. There you go.
Displacer. He literally loses a hand in this fight.
That's true. Which
is unfortunate.
Yeah, because then people see that he's a displacer. They call him a limb dropper. Kind of like a... Yeah. Sounds like a derogatory, like, nickname. Or Indeed. Slur, almost.
Yeah. And so... But, however... Farron does manage to take out both of his combatants, including, unfortunately... Well, actually, I don't know. Jason and Rachel also help out.
Yeah, they do.
So, Jason kicks Kale in the hip, causing him to fall sideways. And...
basically, they fight.
Yeah.
Farron injures Kale fairly badly. Crushes his larynx. But, before they can, like, really kill each other, what's it called? The watch
constable.
The constable steps in and stops the fight. And then some of the spectators tell the constable what happened. They're like, the limb dropper struck first. And then Tad is like, these guys attacked me and my friends with no provocation, blah, blah, blah. He's about to die, you know. And then Jason's like, no, they had a knife to my side and they were trying to kidnap me. And the constable's like, okay, well, you're all going to jail until we can figure this all out, basically.
And I find it funny. At one point, Tad's like, 4? It's giving very strong Draco Malfoy. Excuse me, Professor. I thought you said the 4 of us.
The 4 of us.
Like, and McGonagall's just like, you are correct, as you were also out of bed. It's like...
classic.
Get messed up, dude.
Yeah.
But he's like, 4, I'm the victim. My best friend is dying. And the constable's just like, well, then why aren't you trying to help him? You're protesting too loudly, friend. And it's very prevalent. Again, the prejudice that these people have towards displacers. The constables asked, did the guy pull a knife on the young man? And the people in the inn are thinking, oh, maybe he might have. It's possible, but again, they didn't mention that at first. It was only came up after Jason made the claim.
Mm-hmm.
And you were just, again, seeing the
well,
reluctance to take the displacer's side.
One of them, it's one lady shouts, burn the limb dropper and call it even. Like, dang. They're like ready to kill Farron. But thankfully, the constable is like, no, we're going to put you all in jail. Have a trial, figure this out by the law. So they take him
to be fair, he seems to administer the law as fairly as he can.
I agree. He's not going to execute them on the spot. So they take him to the jail and they put him in a few separate cells. Farron and Jason are in the same one.
Rachel's off to their left and Tad's to their right.
Yeah. And Farron says, I know the reputation of this constable. He's a stern one. When Kale dies, and unfortunately he will die, the 3 of us will be sentenced to death. And then Jason's like, well, he mentioned a trial. And then Farron's like, yeah, but in this town, Constable Warnser has final say in matters of sentencing. He'll be judge and jury. To acknowledge the law, we'll receive a cursory hearing and then we'll be executed. And then Jason's like, well, is there anything we can do? And then Farron's like, well, he smiles and he says, they evidently do not appreciate the abilities of a displacer. If they did, I would not be in a cell such as this. So he's insinuating, yeah, I can get us out of here pretty easily.
Just give me a minute.
Yeah.
Jason falls asleep, and when he wakes up, Farron immediately goes, you have an astonishing capacity to sleep through commotion.
The running gag. Yeah, we're starting the last chapter, chapter 12, Jailbreak.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so Farron and Jason, being the only two in this cell, begin to hatch a plan. Jason's part is to fall asleep, well, pretend to be asleep, hopefully not actually fall asleep, and pretend to be in the throes of a nightmare. This is intended to wake the guard who is supposed to be keeping watch, so I guess that guy's gonna be tasting some socks soon, and draw him over to the cell where Farron, who will be laying close to the bars, can get to him.
Yep. I will say before they do this, Farron asks about the Tad and Kale, and Jason's
That would be
like,
their shipper name.
yeah. You caught me off guard with that one.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. That was too easy an opportunity.
Yeah. Farron's like, oh, tell me about them. How do you know them? Why are they after you? And Jason's like, basically, I tried to save a bunch of musicians from intentionally going over a waterfall. I meant to help, but it caused a mess. I knocked one of them into the water, and I guess they were angry enough that they tracked me down. And then Farron's like, you said Tad only had one arm before? And Jason's like, yeah, does that mean he's a displacer or something? And Farron's like, probably not. And he explains that they've likely been conscripted by a conscriptor because they have the ability somehow, or Maldor has the ability to grant new limbs. So basically, they join Maldor for him to get a new limb and get revenge on Jason. So, yay.
I feel like it is also worth mentioning that Jason did notice that Tad had a new eye as well. Or at the very least, he notices that Tad had one brown eye, one blue eye, which he had not noticed upon their previous encounter. So, just a little tidbit there that I think is very interesting.
Yes. So, they start their plan. Jason, pretending to be in a nightmare, starts moaning and groaning very loudly. And then the guard wakes up and is like, yo, shut up, you're really loud and annoying. And when Jason doesn't stop, he comes over to the bars. And that's when Farron pounces. He
had positioned himself with, I guess, arm in arm, you would say.
There's so many good jokes we can make with arms and hands and displacer stuff. It's so funny.
You might say he's armless.
So yeah, Farron is very handy to have around. There's too many jokes.
It's too good. So, yes, he basically, what's it called when you yank some? He pulls the rug out from under him, basically.
Yeah.
All right. So, they managed to dispatch the first guard by slamming his face repeatedly into bars to knock him out. So,
Yeah.
That'll do it.
That'll do.
So Farron then goes to the bars of the cage, and he told Jace earlier that he can't just detach pieces of him and then reassemble himself on the other side of the field. The field itself of the bars, the displacement field itself has limits. He can't stretch it too far, otherwise
it all falls apart. Literally. It'll all come out in the grossest way possible.
So yeah, and feel free to picture that in your imaginings.
No thanks.
But so what he ends up doing is he reaches through the bars and makes an underhanded motion as if he were pitching a horseshoe. As his hand swings forward, it detaches and flings forward, reaching for the keys attached to a hook on the wall. And I feel like there's something that we could do with that as well. It's giving Thing from
Wednesday. I was just thinking that. It's like the hand.
It's it's Thing, right?
Thing, yeah. Yeah, it's called Thing.
So, but they finally manage it, and it takes a few tries, and we get a swear word from Farron. Prongs. I don't know what he has against James Potter, but
Pad foot and prongs.
Well, it's the only thing I can think of. Prongs. What can you think of with prongs?
I don't know. It's fun to use book swears. Like Storm It All.
I've definitely used storms a couple times.
Prongs.
Storm and light eyes.
Man. Sorry, guys, for the filthy language. Just kidding.
They manage to get the key ring, bring it back. They get out of the cell, let Rachel out, and she's just like, so, you good? Like, I was wondering what you guys were up to.
Making a lot of noise over there.
They have to dispatch the guard again. He was playing possum at one point, so they have to, like, really keep him stranglehold basically until he passes out. Mm-hmm. The other guard, though, first we have to go through this. We have a moral quandary that comes up.
Yes.
Because Tad is still in the jail. His buddy, Kale, is dead. The hit to the throat was too much, and he has passed away. He did. And so Farron asks Jason and Rachel, so do we kill the guy? As he is standing there, staring at them. Puts him on the spot a little bit. Like Farron mentions, like, even if you let him live, he will come after you. He will be released probably in the next 24 to 48 hours. He will come for you.
And he also says, if the roles were reversed, he would not think twice about killing you. He's like, he's a loose end. We should probably get rid of him. And Jason and Rachel are like...
He says it very offhandedly.
Yeah. Ha 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 ha. There's someone keep track. Like, how many displacer-based jokes have we made in the past 5 minutes? A lot.
I was very proud of that one, actually.
You might need both hands to count them. And maybe your feet as well, with your toes. Oh my gosh.
Hey, Farron gets it on this as well. He says, Jason and Rachel say, don't kill him, not like this. It's one thing to act in self-defense. This would be something else. And Farron says, it's your neck. It wouldn't matter if it was his.
Oh my gosh. There's too many jokes.
There's too many. So Jason... And also to Farron's credit, he even offers to let the fifth guy, so there was a random guy completely unconnected who was also imprisoned.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, you want us to let you out? And he's like, nah, I've only got a day more. Just knock me out so it doesn't look suspicious.
Yeah. I will say, Jason and Rachel, I feel like they make the right choice, for their morals. They're like, if he were attacking us, it would be one thing, but this would be, cold-blooded murder. Not self-defense. And then it's kind of funny, but also like, ooh, dang. Jason's like, so why isn't Tad raising the alarm? And Farron's like, well, I suspect he knows what I would do if he tried to raise the alarm, insinuating like, if he tried to interfere, I would kill him. So he's smarter than that.
You could say he was ready to throw hands.
Oh my gosh.
He's ready to throw hands at a moment's notice.
He already has thrown his hand. Literally. Farron's like, on one hand, you could kill him. On the other hand, you could let him live. I mean, let us know if you're sick of this, guys, but it's kind of funny just coming with this on the spot.
I got one. You could say that when they're trying to get to the guard, Farron has to put his foot in the door. It would be funner if he actually detached his foot. That would be funny, but not bad. I'm just thinking of all, like, the possible, like, limb-related humor.
There's a lot.
No,
I mean,
like,
at least
honestly...
they didn't have to bribe the constable an arm and a leg to get out.
Well, at least we all kept our heads.
There's so many jokes. Good on us for coming up with this on the spot. I'm actually kind of impressed how many we've thought of.
Citizens, lend me your ears. Literally, he lends him his ears.
Anyone else that's thought of a good Farron limb related joke? Put it in the comments. I want to read them. This is fun.
Please. Or even just like your favorite one that we've done today.
Yeah.
Just, we're having a great time.
This is
with
great.
This.
I did not think of this possibility when I was reading these chapters, but this is fantastic. Now every time I think of a Farron related hand or foot or whatever joke, I'm definitely gonna say it.
All
right. Jokes aside, they made it out. Farron, I really just almost said handy to fight again. I already made that joke. I'm trying not to repeat. I feel like I might have said the same thing like 3 times, but it's fine.
You say he shows his hand. He shows his hand at... So they get all their weapons and their cloaks, and they get the heck out of Dodge. They leave the jail after subduing the second guard, and they head out.
They go to a stable.
Yes.
And
is it nighttime? It is nighttime.
It is nighttime. And there's another funny part that happens because Rachel, well, first of all, Farron's like, how experienced are you guys with horses? And Jason's like, I've ridden a little bit. And then he's thinking, the only time I've ridden was a pony and a guided horse tour in Arizona. And then Rachel's like, oh, I've ridden quite a bit. And Jason's thinking, of course she has.
But he keeps it to himself.
But he keeps it to himself. So Farron
he recognizes that it is not the time.
Farron and Rachel are saddling the horses. And a guy comes in to the stable and is like, he only sees Jason because he's the only one not in one of the stalls. And he's like, what are you doing here? You know, like questioning him. And what does he say?
Jason, going just completely ad lib,
Yeah.
says, I just love to pet horses. His voice pathetically dreamy. They're my most favorite ever. I can read their minds. Which, on the one hand, laid it on a little bit thick. On the other, I can relate. Horses are the best, and I accept no others.
And then Farron, going along with the little crazy that Jason is putting out, Farron stepped out of a stall, holding his head in his hands. Beware the boy, the head said. He took my head. Yours will be next.
Which makes me think, aren't there, like, portraits of, I think it's, like, John the Baptist, where he's, like, has his head in his hands, like, in, like, some, like, biblical art, just because, like, John the Baptist was beheaded?
No. I've never seen one of those before, but that would make sense.
That's where the...
Oh, you have another joke.
Because his head was served on a silver platter. You could say that Farron came out with his head on a platter.
There you go. So yeah, the stableman is like very surprised by that, and so Farron takes him down, and he looks at Jason. He's like, "Good job," you know. It just is like.
Well, Jason even has to throw the head.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Jason's becoming accustomed pretty quickly because Farron dropped his head. Well, he put it down gently. And then charged. But yes, so Jason is required to take the head and chuck it to Farron, who manages to catch it, which, I mean, impressive.
He says that's not as easy as it looks. Catching your head.
Keeping your head.
Keep your head. Don't lose your head.
Sorry, not sorry, not.
All right, we need to move on. we're doing it a little too much now.
I know.
It's too fun.
But like, just how surreal that must be, picking up somebody's head and throwing it to their body.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
Some real, like, you could easily put a horror movie film on this and like
horror movie
filter on this, and it would be very appropriate.
Yeah.
So Farron has demonstrated quite easily that he is accustomed with the harsher side of life.
Yes.
like he has a practiced stun blow that he keeps chucking around to the point where Jason's like, "Can you teach me that?"
Yeah.
Like it's just like I think it's a chop to the behind the ear. Is that what he's doing?
Probably some kind of pressure point or something.
Yeah.
And then Rachel's like, well, now we're real criminals. And then Farron is like, they made us criminals. You know, kind of making a distinction of like, they had to do these things because they were forced to, not because they wanted to.
If nothing else, Maldor made them criminals in it.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
So they all mount up on their horses and they ride away.
Note, Farron's riding bareback.
Oh, dang. He's just skilled.
Yeah, he really is. It mentions, like, the page before, while he was tacking up the other horses, he put saddle and bridle on the 2 horses that Jason and Rachel ride, but he only puts a bridle on the 3rd horse. And later, that's even confirmed when they get to the next town.
I guess that
like,
saves
the next
time.
day. Yeah. But even then, like, they were cantering and he was doing it bareback. That is not
That's
easy.
Impressive.
And like even the next person they run into says the one without the saddle is Herrick's horse. Like he recognizes it.
Yeah.
And so bro's going bareback for like a full 24 hours. Respect.
Yeah.
So they escape the town. They're cantering off. Jason has no idea what he's doing, but he's doing his best.
Farron's trying to give him pointers.
Mm-hmm. And to some extent, when you're in a group, if you're the one person who doesn't know what you're doing, your horse is kind of going to follow the... Horses are herd animals.
Follow
they're
the
going to
pack.
follow their fellows.
Yeah.
They finally reach a point where they feel like they're safe to bed down for the day. And Farron volunteers to keep watch. And Jason's just like, okay, so I can see why cowboys are bow-legged. But he
Yeah.
manages to fall asleep.
Also, kind of a funny thing. Farron's like, you know, if you're ever back in this area, don't go into town. You know,
Just don't.
Just avoid it altogether. Jason's like, you know, if I come back here, I'll be sure to wear glasses and a mustache. You know, disguise myself.
I will also mention that there were wolves, but they cut off very quickly.
Oh.
Like, they heard howls in the darkness.
I thought they were coyotes.
It actually... Well, it says coyotes or wolves.
Oh.
But at one point, Jason's horse is startled into a gallop, but the howls cut off abruptly after a heart-freezing shriek pierces the night.
Wonder what that
So
was.
The presumption is that they caught something and they are feasting on it in the woods. Just not. So.
Lovely.
That one perplexed me. Like,
Yeah.
I guess it kind of leads into the fact that Jason and Rachel feel like they're being hunted.
True. Hopefully they're not about to get caught.
Interesting. Just something I noticed and I wanted your take on it.
That's interesting. I like that.
So
Farron takes watch for the night. They sleep. Jason wakes up pretty early. And Farron's like, well, if you're up, I'm going to take a nap. So, Farron settles down. And Jason, knowing that he cannot be trusted to sit down, decides...
And that there will no longer be any mercy for slackers.
Yeah. Decides to stand up and do a little pitching. So he gathers some rocks similar size to baseball and starts pitching at a stump. And... you know, he's pretty good. He manages to get him into, like, a little hole of the stump.
About 50 feet away, which I think is about that's about the distance.
I think
pitchers
so,
go to
yeah.
home base.
Makes sense.
And he was nailing a spot. He was nailing a stump at that distance.
I mean...
but also making him into a hole the size of a dinner plate. That's not big.
He was being scouted for varsity for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So he's just sitting there, and he kind of, like, looks over at Farron, and he's like, I'll just read this. What a peculiar guy. He certainly knew how to handle himself in a fight. Whoever had jumped him and left him to die with his head in a sack must have really known what they were doing. And then, this part is so funny. As Jason stood watching, the fingers and thumbs began dropping off Farron's hands. They wormed off his body and squirmed toward Jason across the ground. Jason jumped back, his voice cracking. Farron, you're coming apart. Farron's mouth bent into a small grin and he opened one eye. Did I startle you? You are weird. That was so funny. Farron's like playing a joke on him. And then he's like, so, what? You have really good aim with rocks. What are you doing?
So Jason starts explaining the rules of baseball. It takes him a minute because he doesn't have any, like, he doesn't have a real world example to show him. But like, Farron also mentions, horses are my favorite. Dude, you got my kind of crazy. I just love that. Farron's like, I recognize game. I can match your energy.
He's like, good job with the crazy horse thing. It's so funny.
So, yeah. They make it to, like I mentioned, the next town. A man who owns horses recognizes the horses that they're riding. And Farron says, we borrowed these horses from a man in the town down the road for a fee. Would you see that he gets them back? And
the guy, like you said, he recognizes the horse. And then he's like, oh, so he's basically like insinuating like, oh, I don't like work with thieves. Or well, Farron's like, can you give us your word that you'll give the horses back? And the guy's giving him the cold shoulder because he's like, knows that they stole them. And so he's like, oh, I don't give my word to thieves. And then Farron gets pretty, stern with him. And he's like, I will not give something to like an unsworn man. And he's like, he says,
and I don't deliver valuables via unsworn men. Swear or return the money. And
the guy is cowed. And he agrees to it. And then Farron's like, just because we're criminals, don't assume that we're evil. People who oppose Maldor are often criminals. Basically like, remember who the real enemy is.
Yeah, he actually puts it in very fine words here. He says, show no disrespect to thieves. You know who claims to rule this land. Many of the best men living work outside the law, along with the most dangerous. Brings good points.
Subtle threat there.
And again, bring back what I mentioned earlier. People don't like Maldor. They obey him, partially because they don't have a choice, but they don't like him.
Yeah. I feel like out here, he's kind of like a far-off power, but people know that he has, like, influence and can kill you all if he needs to with his minions. So they are still scared of him, but they don't like him. So the guy takes the horses back, and as they're leaving, Jason is like, wow, you can be harsh. And then Farron smirked. Among my many professions, my favorite was acting. Which is kind of funny.
They walk into town. They knock at a random door. There's no inn in the town, according to the woman who lives there, but she perks up pretty quickly when they say 3 bowls of rabbit stew for 2 drima, and she's like, come on in! Mm-hmm. Very similar to how the innkeeper back at the tavern go-round was like, oh, you have money? Oh, we are best friends.
Thankfully, they have Farron, who knows the exchange rate or whatever,
Indeed.
And then Farron ends the chapter with very wise words. With a few druma in your pocket, everyone is your friend.
Just make sure you keep your hands on said pockets. And that is the end of the chapter for the chapters for today.
Indeed.
Shall we do a brief discussion of our new characters?
Yes, we shall. Mm-hmm. So we have Tark, Ned, and Farron.
Very, very different, unique characters.
Very different. Very interesting as well. So we have with Tark. He was a member of the Giddy Nine, the sole survivor. And we meet him at his lowest point. Very depressed, not knowing what to do in the world now that all his friends are dead, and he feels like it was his fault. And Jason and Rachel are able to give him new purpose in going after Maldor. So that's good.
Mm-hmm. Then we run into Ned. Poor, confused, Cocoa Puff crazy Ned.
Yes.
Who is ride or die, not for Jason this time, but for Gallerand. And the second his name is mentioned is on their side to help them out.
And we know that he knows about the book. And if he knows about the book, he knows about the word.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting.
He is one of the few trustworthy that we know of.
Yes.
And then, most recent, Farron. A very capable displacer.
Mm-hmm.
with a edge of sarcasm and levity.
Yes. Very likable, very helpful. Travel companion.
Time will tell how these characters develop and how they interact with our main two.
And how they come back into the story. That's all we're going to say. Because they are important.
All three. Next episode, we'll be getting into Chapter 13, Nicholas. So we're going to be getting to Trenzacourt.
Yep.
Which we were led to by Juggard. So we're looking for our friend of Galaran, Nicholas, the weapons master.
He will direct us to the next place to go for the word. Yeah, because this whole chunk of chapters, we don't even, like, talk about the word at all or anything. Mm-hmm. It's just meeting these new characters, you know, growing our cast of characters that we know, and a little journey along the way to Trenzacourt.
Any last words on this chapter?
I would ask who your favorite of the three is, but I think it's pretty obvious. My favorite is Farron, so.
I would say Farron as well, but I will say Ned is, I'd say, close contender. He sparks so much interest and mystery that, like, I want to know more about him. And
it's true. You want
his backstory.
Yeah, you want to know more about his past. And his
similar to how we want to know about Galaran's past.
True. There's a lot of mystery. Mm-hmm. But since
Galaran's still very much of mystery.
But since Galaran is the heir to Trenzacourt, and that's where we're going next, we'll probably learn more about him there. So.
And possibly Ned as well.
True. But that's for next episode.
Indeed it is. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please feel free to give us a big thumbs up, but don't make sure you don't leave your thumbs behind. Collect them as you go.
That was a good one.
Thank you. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed all of our Displacer humor. Again, if you guys can think of any other jokes that Farron would make, I
want to hear them.
we would love to hear them. Honestly, please put them in the comments. Please make sure if you have any questions, comments, or just compliments, we're also open to those. Please feel free to reach out to us at our email, knightsofthedawnpodcast@gmail.com, or by leaving a comment on whatever platform you are listening to us on. Remember, you can find us pretty much anywhere. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you can find your podcast. We are there and happy to keep your company during whatever you're doing. All right, well then, until next episode, I'm Jessica.
And I'm Megan.
Follow the music.
See ya.